Good evening, my friends, and welcome to another Jim's Monday Malt Samples. Yes, hello. I hope you can all hear me okay. Please give me a thumbs up or something if you can or can't, because I'm using a slightly different mic tonight, because the last time I went live, my mic was messing about on me. So I'm hoping that this one will work all right. It's just for tonight. I think I should be back with another mic. So yeah, I'm hoping this mic will work out all right. McCallum Fine and Rare says, okay, I hope that's directed to me, Doc. I seen your, I just got an email from Doc just about a few seconds before we went live there, and he was picking me up on my grammar a bit, and I appreciate it, Doc. I will take a look into that. So look, before I actually dive in and say hello to everybody that's in here, I haven't got a drink yet, because I've decided to go down the route of I I I would tend to pick. I would usually have picked samples, very specific samples for each live stream, and I was actually struggling myself to because it's so many samples that I just didn't know what I was sort of looking through them and all. So I now I now have this Jim's box. I actually started the other day, and I was going to say Jim's Monday Malt Samples or something like that there. And when I started, I got Jim's, and it was like Jim's box on it, so as it doesn't get confused around the Ingram household with anybody else's box, I suppose. So this is just a portion of samples that I have. You'll hear a bit of clinking going on in a minute, because I'm going to use the random generator here to pick out a sample of something from somebody, pour it, and then I'll let you know what I think as we go along. You can hear the random generator there picking something, and the first bottle out from the random generator is, and usual story, I don't have it written on it who it's from, although I believe this might be Causeway Coast Phil, and it is the North Star Spica, the 20-year-old, 45.2%. I love North Star Spica. I've never actually managed to get my hands on any of the Spica range, so little nip of that there to start me off. We'll let that settle a bit, and I'll set that aside so it doesn't go back in. And this is going to be almost like an infinity box for me now, in that for every 2 or 3 samples that I take out of here, I'll replace them, and then they will continue to grow and flourish. And so, right, there's quite a few in, so let's go up to the beginning here and say hello. It's been a busy old weekend for live streams, because there was the 12 hours of boom from the dummies on Saturday. I managed to get in there for a while, for a couple of the live sessions, particularly Roy's, so I wanted to catch it. Ooh. And then yesterday evening was Roy's Q&A, Roy Aquaviti's Q&A on the Oswas, and then Alan's third birthday from the Whiskey friend, Alan the Whiskey friend. So it's been a bit of a busy weekend, and I knew this one coming as well. Honestly, didn't know that there was going to be so many lives, but I still wanted to get one in myself before the end of the month. So this is October's Jim's Monday Malt Samples. We'll get to actually chatting about what, well, I haven't really got any agenda, but we'll find stuff to talk about. Whiskey Works, Graham, my friend, good to see you. And I know there's a couple of samples in this box from you. So McCallum Fine and Rare, the doc is in, picking me up in my grammar. Neil Laverty, good to see you, Neil. How are you, buddy? I'll see you in a couple of weeks, Neil. I think Whiskey Social is on. Neil and I know we're going on the Friday evening to Whiskey Social in Belfast, and it is on the 12th of November, so it's not very far off now. Pete Heads and Frank, good to see you. I know Frank's working, so and is away doing some work, so the fact that you're here, Frank, very much appreciate it. Whiskey Williams, Stuart, good to see you, my mate. Stuart and I were having a bit of a bit of an off-screen chat last night about the auspice. We'll maybe get to that later. Whiskey Straight Al, how are you, Al? Good to see you, my friend. North Coast, Tony, how are you, buddy? Greg's Whiskey Guide, good to see you, Greg. Let's see. Bill Monteith, how are you, Bill? Good to see you. Lee J. Brown, good to see my friend. James Morgan, how are you, buddy? Andrew Butler, that's a new name to me. Andrew, I do just, and Andrew's saying, didn't know I did live streams. I do. I used to do them, and when lockdowns and all come in, Andrew, I was fit to do one every couple of weeks. And then, because I wasn't working at the time, and then it all just sort of, I just didn't have the time to do them as often. So at the minute, it's one a month, although November's a strange old month for me. There's stuff happening, so I might try and fit more than one in November. Might even try and fit more than two in. Jimmy Jazz, good to see you, my friend. It skipped for me there. Hold on, where was it? Gav's Drams. Tweedley, David, good to see you, buddy. Billy Boy, Billy, how are you, mate? Stefan Novak is in. Did I say James Morgan earlier? I don't think I seen James earlier. There's quite a few good crowd in here tonight, guys. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you all. Frank says he sneaked away. He hopes he can stay till the end. Well, as you do know, Frank, I tend to try and keep them relatively short. I just like to spend a little bit of time with Mrs. Novice on a Monday evening as well, and the little novices. So, but oh man, this is class. Where did I put that? I don't. If anybody has had that, the North Star Spica, the 20-year-old. I think, as I said, I think I got this sample from Causeway Coast Reviews, Phil. And this is only, I'm saying it's 45.2%, but it noses an awful lot more. That is just a sherry beast on an initial pass there. Ugh. And then it feels like as if it's going to be this huge, massive, voluminous thing on the nose. I was expecting an incredibly unctuous, mouth-watering palate, but it's weird. It's good. It's very good, but it's not the big, unctuous, mouth-watering palate I was expecting. A little sweet, little dry, a little fleeting. John McAllister's in. Good to see you, John. So anybody likes the John's just popped in there. I'm sampling a North Star Spica 20-year-old. Very, very kind of Phil to pass that one on to me. So what's happened since last we spoke? Well, for me, I hit 1,000 subs. Finally. I say finally, because it just felt like a long thing. Because I know there was a few you here last night was in for Alan's 3rd birthday. Now, I imagine, I'm sort of hoping maybe that Alan would have been in the night so as I could ask him this personally. I imagine that's his 3rd birthday as on YouTube. That must be his 3rd birthday on YouTube, because he's obviously been a collector for quite a long time. He's obviously been a collector for longer than 3 years. But Alan, if that's only 3 years, he's, well, I didn't check. I meant to check before I come on here, but he was cutting he was almost cutting 5,000 subs, or he was 4,000 plus anyway, which I think is brilliant. I think it's fantastic, and it is what it is testament to Alan's nature and it's the draw that he has with him. Now, I wouldn't, I wouldn't take anything, not that I wouldn't take anything away from anybody, but there's been a spate then of us came after Alan seemed to come, I started with YouTube in August 2019. and that was as I say, so there's over 2 years to get over 1,000, and I know for a fact that there's guys in here chatting with us that are there longer, and in my opinion, my personal opinion, bring more than I do, and I just and I've this bit always I always find a bit strange, and I'm not blowing smoke anybody's ass here when I say it, but there are heroes of mine. There are people in the chat here tonight that I turn to for advice, and we're all clawing our way through YouTube and trying to get stuff. But I think well, we all know why this is happening. It's happening because there's just so much out there. There's so many of us out there to choose from. And as much as a sub doesn't cost anybody anything, I think it's just one of those things that I find myself, there's new whiskey commentators coming day and daily, and I find myself just thinking, I can't keep adding these in, and they keep just highlight, keeps flashing things up, and I know I don't have to see all their content, but I don't know. I don't want to dig myself into a hole here, but I just, as I say, I can understand how it's very, very difficult, especially new ones coming in there. Like Gav's Drams coming in there since 38 weeks ago, 62 subs. That's very good, Gav. So many of us out there. And I find too that I find a lot of the American channels, because you have so many people in that nation, that great nation, they seem to ramp up an awful lot quicker. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm generalizing whenever I say I don't mean any offense to anybody, but I just noticed that the American channel, whenever a new American whiskey channel starts up, it seems to pick up, it seems to gain speed an awful lot quicker. Don't know what does it. I'm just putting it down to the numbers, the amount of people that are about. Maybe I'm wrong. Whiskey with Molly come in. Ben, good to see you. Christopher Malloy come in. Good to see you, Chris. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's and Stuart says he agrees with the whiskey theory. Yet again, do not take that away from any. These are all great channels. Sorry, Bud Jenkins come in as well. Good to see you, Bud, my friend. Yeah, all great channels. Love them all. Just I find it a little overwhelming at times how many channels there are out there. Anybody just joined? Once again, I'm drinking North Star Spica, 20-year-old, bottled at 45.2%. And now I'm getting loads of blackcurrant. And see, Doc said something. Nick Gascoigne's just in. Good to see Nick. You see, I sort of had a notion about this as well, Doc, that there's things, it's I think the fact that an awful lot of us started around the same time, and it's also, well, I was going to say something there. There was a lot of us started around the same time. And I think most of us, I can certainly speak for myself, and I know they're not in here, but the likes of New Dram Drinker and Stuart's in here, a lot of us all start around Whiskey Straight Ale started before as Greg's been there for ages. I never understand. I just don't get it why Greg doesn't have thousands upon thousands of subs. He's another horse, in my opinion. Why is there not, but anyway, that's there's nothing I can do about that. All I can do is say, if you don't follow Greg's Whiskey Guide, please give him a sub because he's worth it. And the same can be said for Stuart and anybody else. Gav's Drams, give them all a follow. They deserve it. But it's that thing. It is. I think there's competition in it. I think we are sort of competing, and it's healthy. It's probably not a bad thing. Somebody did say it, that it takes that bit of healthy competition to up your game or to keep on top of your game. So I don't think that does any harm. And the other thing that was said to me, and I found it true, was that once you hit 1,000 subs, I'm sort of preaching to the converted, because I know probably certainly the YouTubers here know this already, but I didn't expect it to happen. But I was told that once you hit 1,000 subs, it starts to look after itself a bit. And it's sort of true that I found that it's now I'm starting to, even as soon as I hit 1,000 subs, it started to tick over a bit quicker. And I don't know what that, I don't know, is it human nature that as soon as people see that 1K, then they subscribe? Don't know. Maybe yet again, maybe I'm just thinking this. Sorry, Billy said some American channels review a lot of bourbons and rye whiskies, which are becoming really popular. Hard to get even this. And I would agree with that, Billy, and it's why I don't actually watch a lot of the American channels for that reason. Because as much as I like bourbon, as much as I like some rye, I don't like them enough to. And what you hit upon there, we can't get access to most of these. So whether these channels, these American channels, say they're great or not, whether they're good, they're bad, indifferent, doesn't matter. If we can't get access, I don't see the point in watching this review of something that I'll never get a chance to try. I've watched my numbers go up and down, and when I review whiskies that you can't necessarily buy off the shelf, they don't get the same hits. Perfectly understandable, because what's the point? And it's a question then, why am I reviewing these? Why would it? But I'm certainly only reviewing it because it's something maybe that I want to review. I want people to know what my opinion is on it. It's something. Drew, come in. Drew, good evening, my friend. All the way over there in the States. And I know, Greg, I know you're saying, but it may not be your native language. But yet again, you put us to shame. I mean, English certainly isn't my native language, and neither is it Stuart's, but it doesn't stop us. Yeah, this is... Oh, Whiskey Graham's in. Good to see you, Graham. Anybody just joined us, Drew, Graham, I was just finishing off a little North Star Spica 20-year-old bottle of 45.2%. I'm going to pick another. I'm going to let the random generator pick another whiskey in a minute. But there was something. Yes, right. Let's move on. Moving on from. Thank you very much, by the way, for the 1,000 subs. It meant the world to me. You have no idea. It really did. It meant the world to me. So Christopher Malloy, and sorry, I'll get back to that, Christopher. 2 seconds. Andrew Butler saying, I think cousin Kim Grant whiskey and Hurt Whiskey Lovers could do. Yes, I agree. I watch both those channels. Funny, Whiskey Lovers Society, Hurt's channel, I've started to watch an awful lot. I don't know what it is. There's something about the guy that just draws me in. So yes, what was it? Yes, right. Leaving the subs behind for now. Whiskey Novice, any constructive criticism of the choice of categories with the Oswas? I know the Oswas have brought up some debate, and Hellswed saying, sorry, really, look, guys, no rush. Wasn't a queue at the door. There was a bit of debate, and funny, I said near the start that Whiskey Wims and I were having a bit of debate off screen last night, and what it was about the Oswas was about Roy's chat. Whiskey Malt Content, good evening from Birmingham, all the way from Birmingham. I'm going to get back. I'll get just before Christopher, before I get back, because there's a few things coming through in the chat here that I want to mention. I remember it's not that long ago that you reviewed the 3 Ships, Stuart, because you loved it. Barely any views because people aren't. This is the thing. It's hell, we're just going to review these things because we like them. I think that's certainly why I find myself reviewing them. I've seen another comment. Yeah. Well, this is the thing, Doc. Sometimes it does beg the question how you would like to tag these, and I have been tempted to tag things just for the crack, with huge glowing titles to see if it would suck people in. Even that one that I did recently about the whiskies for building a whiskey collection for less than whatever it was, that it took off. That was a video that took off, and it seemed to be an idea that people thought was quite quaint. It was fun. It was about something different, but it took off, and then the breaks. Come on, but you know, I've said it before. I'll say it again, and I will continue to say it. As much as I appreciate the subs, of course I do. Can't thank you all enough. I would be doing this anyway. I would. I think I would, because I just enjoy doing it. Right, random generators out. Another sample. Anybody wondering what I'm doing? I'm clinking through some sample bottles to try and find something with the random generator. This time, it is from Tony. If Tony's still in here, it's the Bushmills 1608, the 400th anniversary edition, distilled with crystal malt. Ooh, that's the crystal malt. That's the it's like no, I'm thinking of like a coffee malt. What is crystal malt's the sweeter one? No, it's sugar or something. Somebody remind me what crystal malt is. I know what it is, but I just can't remember. I did nearly say it was distilled with crystal meth there. That would have been something totally different altogether. Daniel Vermaas is in. Good to see you, buddy. Not talking about whiskey, I hope. Of course, we're not, Daniel. So a little sample of Bushmills. I had, anybody will know here that I had a bit of a beef. It's beer malt. Yes, Christopher, that's what it is. Thank you. I used to have this thing about Bushmills, and I had this, you know, it was just always had something stuck in my head about, and it was the bottling at 40%. And I still, you know, especially whenever you get the likes of the 16s, but Greg's Whiskey Guide in here has sent me some great Bushmill samples. Tony, it just seems to be, Bushmills seem to be starting to take off. Pardon me. Again, they've taken flight, and I mean, I had that 10-year-old, the travel exclusive recently, which is finished in sherry cask, bottled at 46%, and I can tell you, it is incredible. There's just something about it. It is the Bushmills that I always wanted. It's only 10 years old. It comes later ball. It's too expensive. It is too expensive, definitely. But it's good to see Bushmills starting to branch out. This is the 400th. I think I've actually had a sample of this before from somebody. I can't remember. There's every chance it was on Jim's Monday Malt Samples. It's weird. That's a weird note. It's kind of funky, fresh. Rubbery. Old. It's definitely, when I say old, it feels like an older whiskey. It doesn't feel like it's an aged whiskey. It just feels like whiskey. I'm not saying that all whiskey has changed over the last 40 years or whatever, but it just feels like an older style of whiskey, if that makes any sense. Yeah, it definitely does. It feels like the whiskies that I was sipping at the bar with my father 30 years ago. The older style, it feels almost like an old blend, even though it's not. It is, well, it's a single malt, but very nice. Cheers, Tony. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, Graham said he's nearly finished the bottle of the 1608. Still not sure about it. I can see your point, Graham. I do appreciate this, and I'll take my time over it. And I've left a good portion. That's what I have to give it to these ones. These came from Blair Athol. These little glasses. And this little mini Glencairn came from Glenallachie when I was there, and I do love now having, because I can have a nip rather than a dram as such, and I can still get the joy out of it without feeling like as if I've drank more than I needed to. If that makes, if you understand what I'm talking about, it's yeah, I prefer that. Yeah, no, I'll work on this. I imagine I could come round to it, but I can also see Graham's point. So anyway, the os was getting back. Yeah, we had. I still have some issues with. It wasn't obviously this was nothing to do with Roy or Ralphie themselves. I just the issues I have is with the choices that were made. The I can't remember Christopher's original question. Chris, if you wish, fire that question up again. It was something to do with the there we go, categories, for the choice of categories with the Oscars. Well, no, not I can understand I can understand where they were coming from with the categories. I definitely can. It was I had a bit of an understanding issue at the start, in that I had to message Roy and ask him what, are we looking at the last are we looking at stuff that's been produced in the last year here, or is it only the new, obviously the new distillers would be new distillers. I mean, the clue's in it there, but is everything else fair game? To which Roy said, yeah, obviously, you're right there. Yes, the new distillers, and then everything else is just up to you. So it's a wide open world there, isn't it? It's the world of whiskey's huge. Before I get into whiskey the way I'm into it now, and I'm still very much at the start of my journey, and still very much a novice, and will remain so quite happily. In my head, whiskey, I didn't know that each producer had hundreds of bottles in their range over the years. I thought, that a producer had this and a producer had that. I just didn't, it didn't make sense to me. So we then learn that each producer has hundreds upon hundreds of, or say hundreds, but at least tens of different expressions. And that's for every producer, and every producer there's another producer every day, almost. That's what it feels like anyway. So when it came to trying to narrow it down, even trying to narrow down into those that were set for the auspice, it made it very difficult in an open sandbox world of whiskey. It just said, pick what you want. This is so that was, and I think I mentioned this before, that in my head, availability was one of the biggest factors. Put a pin in that. I want to pick into a couple of these. Christopher, the super chat, there's still, even when you hit 1,000 subs, there's still a couple of criteria that you have to fulfill. One is some watched hours or something like that there, and I'm not far off. Don't worry, we'll get there. And it's a matter of fact, when we do get there, in the way that if you guys are happy, like obviously, but when the super chat thing triggers, Roy has his virtual dram. I'm sure everybody has their own thing, and I've been racking my brains trying to think of something to call it if somebody does buy, somebody does, and I don't, so if you can suggest, then it would take it out of my hands. Right, back to that. David saying people will vote for what they've tried. Of course they will. And that's, yes, you're 100% right, David. And the thing is, and where did I see it? Daniel Vermaas said it, and he's right too. You know, it's easy to overthink this, and it was. I started to overthink it, but availability, as I said, was the thing that stuck with me most. What was the point? And everybody could have just said, "Yeah, Springbank 10, Springbank 10 is the best whiskey you'll get." That's just me saying, just the Kilkerran 8-year-old, but batch two was the best whiskey ever. If you can't buy it, what's the point in nominating it? That was the biggest thing that stuck with me and still sticks with me. That there was a few things that were nominated that I just thought that's pointless. It's like Stuart said earlier about the three ships. It was like me, saying something about I could have nominated the Bushmills 2008 and said, "Yep, that's the one." And don't get me wrong, it is a cracker whiskey. What was the point in nominating it? You can't buy it. You'll only get it in secondary market and pay 4 times the price for it. I'm not going to put that in there. This is why whenever I actually did nominate, I was nominating whiskies that were available, but then they didn't actually make it through because I wasn't the one that was, out of there was 24 channels then who were narrowing the numbers down, and I voted for something that was fairly stock. So and the what was that, the best Scotch whiskey. So, and I've said before that there was a one picked out for nomination for, and I've ranted about this a few times, and I'll probably continue to rant about it, that Ardbeg 10 should not be in there as a beginner whiskey. Definitely should not. Yeah, Stuart, I know, because the reason Stuart and I are certainly Stuart a bit of a beef about this was that there's things have been said, questions have been asked about certain things, and they weren't really answered. Now, don't get me wrong. If you want to know about the Oswas, and if you haven't heard about what's going on yet, Lord knows where the hell have you been. Like, but last night, I did think Roy's video last night with the Q&A helped. It did help. It's a matter of fact, there was an awful lot saying that probably should have been said sooner. But as I said, even last night, this going forward, we'll have to remember this is the first year of this. The first year of anything is always going to be difficult. And it must have been a massive undertaking. Andrew Butler saying about, yep, totally agree, mate. UK availability, do consider that when I give people something. And it's the same. I always talk about UK prices because it's all we can go by, isn't it? Can I get past the fact that, yeah, yeah, Christopher, that sort of sat with me too a bit. It's funny. Somebody asked about the categories of the blends. The blends was a bit of a strange one. It was a bit of a strange one. David's asking, what category was the most off? Well, actually, I just said about the blends, but I'm not sure. I mean, at the end of the day, I suppose the grains, I get the impression an awful lot of the contributors didn't actually vote on the grains, didn't put anything forward. I actually struggled a bit because I've only had 4 or 5 single grains. So it makes it quite difficult to well, I suppose to a certain extent it didn't. It made it actually easier, I suppose, for me to go, well, I know out of those 4 or 5 grains which one I thought was the best. And I did nominate it and it didn't get anywhere, I don't think. So, there was an awful lot of them there. So probably the grains was the one that I don't think is work is gonna, I don't know. Mm, mm, that it definitely has a very old feel about it. That Bushmill 1608. I feel as old as 1608. I don't know. Yeah, Bill, 100%, 100% agree. There's always going to be controversy, you know, and it does have everyone talking. So, what more? You know, this is the thing. It's building a head of steam. So, and yes, Christopher, I could not agree with you more. Whenever I started to see these bourbons, and once again, if I wanted to get on my horse about the whole thing, the so many compass box getting called up in there sort of stuck with me. But you know, this is the people talking, isn't it? So it's not, you know, it's outside of Roy and Ralphie's hands, as I said. It was technically it was outside of the contributors' hands because we could only work with what we had. It's a tough one. Did I miss categories? And if so, which category? Do you mean is there certain categories that I didn't vote on, Frank? Is that what you mean? I I definitely I put one in for every category. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna put myself out there again and tell you what I put in because I can't. Well, I could easily find it, but I'm not going to leave myself open like that again. I definitely I put in for every category. So would be a category would you place off the top of my head, Frank? I can't think of any. Probably if I sat down and thought about it, yeah, I'm sure there'd be something I would want to fix about it. But you know, yet again, this is a big undertaking. There was a big and fair play to them. I think I think in the next 2 to 3 years we'll see the was becoming a bigger thing. As I said last night, I can't wait to the 2025 one when Ricky Gervais is doing the doing the award ceremony. Mm. Mm. That was an interesting little number, that Bushmills. So, time to pick another sample. What did I see there? Christopher Malloy. Well, you see, that was another one. Best new distillery. I found that one quite easy because I sort of had a handful to pick from in that. Well, obviously there had to be a new distillery, and there had to be something that I had tried. So out of the new distilleries, I had tried probably 4 or 5 of the new distillery. What would be considered the new distilleries, and the first two Ardent American. I'll openly admit that I nominated Ardent American because I had tried the first two offerings from them and loved them both. And as much as I maybe didn't try as much as from the other distilleries, it just made it easy for me. Independent bottlers, yet again, I've been a big fan of the people that I nominated for a long time, and we'll see who who wins it. The most important, Bud said, the most important point about the OSWAs is the coordinators are doing us a big service to put this on, and they will learn from you. Yeah, 100%, but 100% agree. It's a big undertaking. I know they've been working on it for months. So once again, I was delighted to be asked. It is muddy water, yes, that we tread in it, but you know it'll work itself out, and I'm looking forward to the actual ceremony. I'm going to pick another bottle before saying anything more. Right, the random generator, random generator is doing its work. What have I got? Oh, whiskey or Graham Whiskey Works. Are you still in? Dunville's. I'm sure I've had this as well. It's the Dunville's VR. It's the PX cask bottle of 57%. Thank you, Graham. I was going to say something else. It'll come to me. Once I get this bottle open. I do. I mean, I tape my bottles up as well, but whoever's put this one on. Che Francis is in. Good to see you, Che. Well, I mean, in fairness, Christopher, yep. But I mean, I suppose the same then could have been said about any category. I haven't tried every whiskey. So once again, you can only vote on what you've tried, or you can only nominate what you've tried. And, you know, like even Ralphie, any of us, I mean, there's still whiskies coming up, propping up day and daily. I definitely see your point, but ooh. Sorry, just reading this from Drew. It took a minute to get where you were going there. I'll let you read that a moment. This Dunville's this Dunville's made by the Acklandville distillery. This was yet again it's carried over whiskey. Yes, I do agree, but as I say, it's the same. I mean, anybody. I mean, to have asked any of us then to be contributors, I'm sure you see my point that to have asked any of us to be contributors, we would have had to have been to vote in each category. You would have had to have drank an awful lot of whiskies. It was what was best in your opinion. So, you know what I mean? I feel like as if I'm digging myself a bit of a hole here, so I'll dodge that one a bit. See that I must admit the random generator has done its work here, because what I have done is pick 3 totally different whiskies. See, this is something here that I don't want to. I really don't want to get into. And this was part of that. I had to think about this when I was asked about those. Was when Roy asked me to take part. My first reaction was, of course, definitely. And then I thought about it. I thought, what is this going to involve? Am I going to leave myself open? And this just sort of shows how you can. And I know you guys are. So what? Sorry, David. Also for me, voted for by enthusiasts, but here are the results for if also for enthusiasts. Yeah, this is it, and it's just it just shows you how I don't think that Roy and Ralphie thought it through to that extent. In that, I don't think they thought it would be cross-examined in the way it has been. And as somebody said earlier on, this will always happen with award ceremonies. There's a piney note off this Dunville's. Oh, that's very nice. It's spicy. I did see somebody saying something about it being spicy. But it's nice. It's piney and sort of, yeah. Very nice. Thank you, Graham. Oh, yes, that is spicy. Sorry, boy. I genuinely didn't want to feel like as if I was dodging anything there or avoiding anything. And I do agree. And I see your point. both David and Christopher. And, you know, it is what it is, isn't it? Bourbon Battalion's in. Good to see you. So, sorry, I'm just reading comments. I didn't pass out there. Sometimes I do. What else could we talk about? Guys, fire something at me, because I think we've exhausted, honestly do think we've exhausted the auspice. One thing I was going to say was, I know they're talking about all this holding prices. I think it was David Tweedley asked a question there, and I agree with him that to a certain extent, who is it for? Where does this drive us forward? I mean, there's 8 categories, so there's 8 winners, so there's 8 bottles. Well, there's not, because there's 2 of them at least were producers. So you Springbank and the new producer. So there's at least 2 there. So you've got 6 whiskies. Does everybody rush out and buy these 6 whiskies? I don't necessarily know where that's going. So that'll be interesting to see. And I know they talked about the price. A lot of the the bigger vendors talked about locking the prices, and that's all right to lock the prices for until the end of this year. But where does it go after that? And as David says, everyone in this community probably already has them. And this is the thing, a lot of them that we're voting for. Yeah. Whisky Novice, Chris Malloy, what's the cheapest single malt you'd happily buy and drink? Single malt, I do like the Ardmore. That's Ardmore I'm thinking about. Classic. I did say before about, I'm trying to think now, I'm trying to put myself in there, the cheap single malts that I have or have had. And yeah, the Ardmore Legacy, I still quite like. Highland Park, 12-year-old, I still quite like. And Tomatin Legacy, I don't think there's a damn thing wrong with it. So there's a few. I would have to think around. There are a few. Glenmorangie, Chris from Royston. Yeah, the Glenmorangie is, yep. I actually do quite like that standard Glenmorangie. There are some great cheap single malts out there. Gav's Drams, do you think Kilkerran 12 is better than the 16? Yes. I think that question came up, or something came up about that last night. And yeah, I think the 12 is far better than the 16, actually. The 16 does settle out. It does get better. But to me, the 12 as an experience, personally, for me, the 12 as an experience from start to finish is better. Hell's Wed, when I'm coming around for a curry, when I get the opportunity, Helen, I will be round. We've got to get that something organised. What shopping mall are you working in this? Well, Tony, we'll not say anything about that right now because you wouldn't know. There was where did I see? Stuart, I noticed this question. I've got a whiskey of the year. I don't think I have. I never really single out. Now, that being said, the year's not done yet. And there have been a couple in this year that I've really enjoyed. And 2 of them, believe it or not, were Bushmills. That Causeway 2008 Bushmills, I absolutely loved. That 10-year-old with the sherry finish, absolutely loved. For somebody that used to just spend his time having digs at Bushmills, recently the Method of Madness single pot still, literally as recently as last week. and I've yet to open the new releases from I mean of the new Springbank or the new Springbank 12, the new Springbank 10, and I've still got samples of my last two bottles of Springbank 10 sitting, with the idea being that, and I always take them off right at the very end of the bottle. So the idea being that whenever I get to the end of this bottle of Springbank 10, I'll pay that off as well and see. And I think I'll not go any further than 3 bottles, but I'll see if I can find any variation in the batch. The 12-year-old I'm looking forward to because of the full bourbon maturation, but I also had the 18. Now, I've never actually had the Springbank 18 before. I've had the 21, but I've never, up to that point, I've never had the 18. So I did see somebody, the Victoriana, absolute classic, Christopher. And you see, this is something that throws me a bit. That, I mean, that's your whiskey of the year. The Victoriana has been around a while, so that's starting from a different starting point. If you get my meaning, you know, somebody could have said last year that Victoriana was their whiskey of the year, and this is what even threw me in these awards, was like, it is a great sandbox to pick from here. There's so many whiskies out there. Where do you start? You can only start with what you know. So it is Jim's Bottle Fund. Whiskey Channel. Cheers. I will remember all of them. I will remember all of them, but Whiskey Cheers. Channel Cheers. I do like that. Thank you, bud. I'm sure I missed something up there. James Morgan, Tailing Small Batch. I like the Tailing Small Batch. Tailing Small Batch is actually one of my favorites from the Tailing Entry range. I like their single grain as well, but the small batch was always one of my favorites. Billy, the Pulteney 12, yes. Pulteney 12 is still a good price, I believe. The N.A.S 12, I think, is creeping, or did creep up. But yes, I agree, Frank, still a very, very good, cheap single malt. But I wouldn't have put it in the cheap range with the likes of the Glenmorray's or the Ardmore Legacy or something like that. Let's see. I see another question. What bottle do you have on your shelf? There is a question. I see someone, because I'd seen somebody else saying that, or Bill Monteith saying it was a great question. What bottle did I, because I couldn't replace? Well, actually, one that I did replace, and I'm sitting, the reason I looked around, because I've got 2 rooms. This room, I have a cabinet on my right, and there's probably the bulk of the whiskies I have are in this cabinet. But then I have another room with a couple of cabinets in it, and there's an awful lot of stuff in there. So I'm only ever working off memory and what I can see in the facade, because there's bottles in behind what I have. I'd swing the camera around, but if I do, it'll just be. So what would I? I'm certainly looking at one which I replaced already, simply because I was holding a bottle back, and it's Aberlour 10-year-old, because I knew that the Aberlour 10-year-old was going off the market. I knew that they'd wrap that up and they were going to start with the 12. It was going to be their entry level. And Aberlour, I just have a soft spot in my heart for Aberlour 10-year-old. Now, you can still get it, and so there's still certain shops just have stock of it. You'll still see it about, but it'll go. It will just go eventually, and that'll be the end of it. So I actually, and it was cheap. That was the thing. It was quite cheap for a long time. And to me, and I've said it before, the 10-year-old was better than the 12-year-old. So I'll probably really, really hold out on that second bottle. I did look at something else there a minute ago. I seen something over my shoulder and it had me thinking. I've got Kilkerrans that I'm dragging out, really, really dragging out, I've got the Ralphie North Star, which was Glenrothes, 10 or 11-year-old. And it was his for his 10th, the Ralphie 10th birthday ball. And I'll drag it out because I'll probably never see it again. For a long time, one of my favorite whiskies, and I mentioned it before, was the Douglas Lang Rock Island. It was Rock Oyster, cast strength. And I dragged them out as long as I could, and until I could drag them out no more. I don't know, Christopher. I really don't. I know guitars hang, probably a Strat. I know guitars hang behind me, and but it's becoming something that's almost a part of another life. Almost. I still lift the guitar regularly, and I'm more of an acoustic fan. So you know, John's Lane 12 and Buna 12 because they still keep giving good value for money. What's that directed at, Billy? For the simple fact that certainly not cheap. John's Lane all day long. I've said it before. All day long. I haven't just seen one from Whiskey Malt Content. Not me. I haven't tried enough of it. I've like sampled a couple of the first releases, but I haven't tried enough of it to really to make a sound judgment on. I'm going to try and get one more in here. Not into that glass, obviously, but let's see. I'm enjoying this tonight, actually, because it's just a wee stroll through the chat, and yet again, you live and learn. And what I was watching Alan last night on his 3rd birthday one, and he just spent his time reading the chat. And I know that's the way Alan does things. I just watched it and thought, that's just brilliant. He's got the right idea. Just chat to people. I'm not going to, I've got guests lined up, but I just needed to get back and have a night with you guys for the chat. New Redbreast PX, my potential whiskey of the year. I haven't actually, yet, Graham, I haven't tried it. I was eyeing up a bottle in the Friend at Hand the other week because they still had it on the shelf. I do want to know, and I know you'll have had the Lustow, the Redbreast Lustow. So I would actually love to sit down with a bottle of the Lustow and the PX and try the two of them together and see. Random generator. Let's see what we've got this time. It's one of these bottles. Oh, the Aaron 18-year-old from Lee J. Brown. Lee J, my friend, thank you. Now, Aaron and I have had, well, I don't, I've almost got this thing in my head that because, and I know people don't like this. I know people don't like the fact that I don't like Aaron 10-year-old. It's just, there's something about it. There's a metallic finish on it that I don't like. And then I think people think that I just don't like Aaron. And I've almost convinced myself that I don't like Aaron. But that couldn't be further from the truth because I've got a good 5 different Aarons in my cabinets now, and the 10-year-old's the only one that I'm not a big fan of. So what did I miss? Because I'm sure whiskey. I'm going to scroll up. You'll see me. You'll see me here trying to read and talk at the same time. Very difficult for me. There's been things said. There's paid £11 for it. That was, even I would say, hell, that was too cheap for that single malt. That, as in, it's just a great single malt. I think it's just that 10-year-old Hour was a classic and should still be there. Daniel, I know that's the thing. The 40, I've heard that, and I haven't actually tried the non-chill filter 48%. Keep meaning to get hold of a ball, but it's yeah, I hear great things about it. The standard 12-year-old, the 40%er, just doesn't work. Like Loch Lomond 12 to the list of value single malts. Totally agree. Couldn't agree more, bud. Loch Lomond 12, absolutely lovely, in my opinion. So, what else did I miss while I was gabbing there? I think I'm nearly caught up. Have you noticed? Have you noticed if you have a reach past whiskey? Do you know? Yes, Nick. I definitely. I've got quite a few of reach. Well, they're not even reach past now because they literally just get shoved to the back of the cabinet, and the good stuff comes forward. And oh, Richard in News, and good to see you, Richard. All the way from Ontario. Well, he's not. He's all the way from up the road, but he lives in Ontario. Uh, and I do. I've started pushing stuff to the back of the cabinet, and it's stuff that I've lived in for a while, and then I've just better stuff has come in, and I've just pushed it back. And I can't think of it. Well, it's actually one that actually I still think is a good whiskey, and I do think it's a good whiskey, but I just reached past it now. And it's a blend. It's Johnny Walker Green Label. I just reached past it now. But what the reason why I was sort of highlighted this question sort of was I was almost, and it might happen. You wouldn't know. It might just happen. Tempted to do a series because I poured myself a whiskey the other night, and I asked my wife. I said to her, "This is very sorry. I didn't say this. Lee J, this RN18 is incredibly subtle on the nose. 46%, non-chill filtered, no color added. Great color. That is a class color. Anybody tell me the maturation in this, please?" Um, I poured myself a whiskey, and it was. I'll not tell you what it was. I'll not because I might do this at some point. And I set it down, and I said to my wife, "Why don't I like this? There's this is right in my ballpark. It's what I should be liking, and I don't." And and straight away I just thought, "Oh, there's an idea for a series. Why don't I like this whiskey?" And I thought, it would just be up there. Obviously, it'd be my personal taste. It seems a bit silly because it'd be something that, but yeah, that is almost what was good. That sounded like. Oh, oh, yeah. Cheers, Lee J. Best of the night, I have to say. You see, that is class. RN18, right? It's subtle, fresh, bright, slightly sweet, but it's that when I say it's sweet, it's like I've said it before. It's a confectionery sweet. Oh, that's beautiful. It really is. Cheers, Lee J. Appreciate that, my friend. Yeah, it's light, but as I said, sweet, but there's even herbal notes about it. Slightly savory. There is a slight savory note about it. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, I'll add that to the list. The list ever longer. And this is the thing, people say that to me. Oh, thanks, Jim. That's an all add to the list. Not my fault. I'm only here. But that there, no, that's excellent. Mm, mm. Yeah. Another and the thing was I was saying about all these glasses. This is one I picked up recently. I don't know if you can read that there. From my good friend Brendan down in Cologne Distillery. Brendan, I just popped in to see Brendan, and he just started throwing stuff at me, almost literally, you know. But I wasn't complaining. If you're in Ireland, or if you're ever in Ireland, let him know. Don't just land on him like I did. That wouldn't be very fair. But you know, definitely call or give him a shout. Cologne Distillery, and check out Cologne's products. The whiskey friend Alan is in. Alan, good to see you, my friend. And it was good to join you last night. And I was talking about you earlier, Alan. I'll let you watch the replay, and you can see what I was saying. It was all good. Trust me, it was all good. So yeah, RN18, very much enjoyable. Bud's signing off. Bud, thanks for joining us, mate. It was good to have you in. I'll be signing off soon myself. Helen saying, does the Dubai list ever get any shorter? No, and actually, I don't want that. This, how do I say this without it sounding conceited? I don't mean it to sound. It doesn't mean it. It's not conceited, I suppose. It's maybe just me in my head. I'm thinking it's conceited. That because of it started the reviewing thing. I was well ahead of myself, and I still found that there's bottles in the cabinet that I've never reviewed, and at some point there'll probably be a series that says never reviewed or something like that. You know, it's simply just I will just be picking out because I've just never been able to find that. It's just, you know, by now it's the way I do things. I put them in series. I can't help it. It's just, it keeps it organized in my head. So when I've a few bottles, which I have there, more than a few that I've never reviewed, simply because I can't pigeonhole them. I just couldn't really. That's all right. That's one thing. At some point I will almost create a series, you know, just to slot them in somewhere. But I found myself then creating series and going, right, well, I'll just buy the whiskies then that I know what I want to review, but I'll just buy them as I go along. And then it becomes, my to buy list now is shocking because I've got series created going into the middle of next year, which I have to buy whiskies for. And it's not just a case of buying the whiskey for them. You have to spend time with it, don't you? You can't just, I'm saying you can't. I certainly like to spend a bit of time with a bottle before I'll review it. I don't just like to open it and give them a view on it there and then as such. So, and well, Tony, and it looked recently like I bought a lot. And the thing was, I know I did recently buy an awful lot in one go. It was in one go. You've no idea. You guys in Northern Ireland have no idea the amount of times I've just been tempted to drive around your houses. Just for the shit of it. Just for the crack. Mm. So, Prestige Liquids is in from Australia. Good to see you, Andy. Ryan's in. Ryan, how are you, my friend? I'm sure I missed a few others. Highland Hamish is in from Inverness. Yes, Hamish, we did. We missed. We could have very much crossed paths while we were there, but it just didn't happen. Sorry, my friend. Andy's asking how the show's going so far. Yeah, yeah, I think it's going well. That's just me. Honestly, Andrew, you're just in the more because I'll not be long until I'm leaving. Ryan's asking, pairing a tipple with an album. There's you want to get yourself over to New Dram Drinker for that sort of thing. Those guys pair music and whiskies, etc., and they do a great job of it. I wouldn't. Ryan, you and I have spoken about my views on music recently, would be the way to put it. No bad thing. No, there wasn't a whole lot of bad stuff said. Just that I just, yeah. Mm. Three balls at the top of your Christmas list. Assuming what are three balls? Boy, this year. You see, Nick, that's a good question. That is a good question because I don't know. You see, that's the thing. People ask me questions and I have to think about it because I come back in 2 weeks and I'll tell you. I don't know. I'm probably. I want to. Well, I say I want to finish. I have the Method of Madness single grain. I this week bought the single pot still, and I want maybe just the standard. Well, say standard. I mean, I know Method of Madness working because I still say an Irish whiskey. Really, for me, for now, I'm quite happy to stick with Bushmills and Middleton. And Middleton just to me can't do any wrong, really. So probably maybe the other Method of Madness or something from Middleton. If somebody had incredibly deep pockets, I I would ask for a one of the Middleton Very Rares. Now that bit, and I've said this, I've mentioned this before. I don't know if I mentioned it to you guys. I certainly mentioned it to people I've had a pardon me, I've had a drink with. That my father-in-law has a Middleton Very Rare from 1991 that somebody gave him as a gift. And every now and again, this bottle gets mentioned, and it's in his cabinet. It's just sitting. He likes his Irish whiskey, and he comes over here for his dinner on a Sunday, and I'll get an Irish whiskey out. Generally, I'll give him an Irish or something. If it's Scotch, it'll be something softer, a bit sweeter, and that's his preferred whiskey. He doesn't like peated whiskey, etc. But is this bottle of Macallan Very Rare from 1991 in the box, all the bells and whistles. Don't know how much it's worth. Doesn't matter how much it's worth. And he keeps saying, anytime this gets mentioned, now you boys, this is myself and the other two brothers-in-law. Whenever I go, you boys drink that now. And my argument is, why don't we drink it now when you're alive and we'll enjoy it together? I don't get this crack of when I go. What is the point of that? Drink it now and enjoy it. That's what whiskey's for. Sorry, small rant. And sorry, what was it? Christmas list. Yeah, some Irish, some I don't, I don't because I don't expect gifted whiskies, and I don't know that people would. This sounds weird. People tend to buy me what they think I would like. Now, my sisters-in-law, I can't remember what the occasion was, but my sisters-in-law, it was my birthday last year, something like that there, bought me a bottle of Powers John's Lane. You could buy me Powers John's Lane all day long, and I'd be happy with it. You could buy me Springbank 10-year-old all day long, and I'll be happy with it. I'll never turn a bottle like that away. So that's the sort of way, that's the way I think. I don't really want, I don't have a necessarily a particular whiskey that I want. I just I'll just take whatever's bought to me, put it like that. I'll never turn it away. There was a lot of stuff coming in there. And I, sorry, apologies. I'm was going another. I seen that there from Alan a while ago. No, no, Alan, that's that's yours. There was other ones I saw. David, guess I'm not a drummer. Well, I do. I do play drums. I'll not tell you where and when, but I do. I I play a bit of drums, play guitars, do a bit of singing. Well, all of these are dids. Currently the guitar, but all that there is just sort of for fun. Pairing music and whiskey, so pairing whiskey cars. Yeah, never a good idea. Never a good idea. Stuart's away. Stuart, cheers, buddy. Still good to have you around. I'm literally tidying up here now. To subscribe to whiskey.com. I don't know. I can't remember. Possibly. Let's see. Let's see. Well, you see, there you are. The John's Lane, Paris John's Lane, ended up as one of Greg's, and I remember Greg telling me that. Sorry, I smell it. Drum off. I didn't. I think you did tell me, Graham, that you played drums. I do believe that. And I tell you, Menno's a drummer as well. I'm going to go tonight and take the rest of those samples, and there's at least 2 of them that I'm going to finish. And one of them is the R18. I really enjoyed that. And I think I actually prefer this setup of random picking rather than saying, I want to try this sample tonight. I'm going to try that. I like that. I did like that. There was a time and a place for that. And I also want to keep going forward here with putting faces to names. I've reached out to a couple of the community, and they've said yes, they'd be happy to come on. So that will be coming. As I said, I might try in November and fit more than one Monday malt sampling. Luna's in. Luna, you're a bit late. Just about to say goodbye, but sure, the replay is always there. Whiskey work. I haven't drummed in a while. I must actually at some point, just for the crack. I was looking last night. I did record some of my own music at a time, quite a few years ago now, and it was a bit off the wall. I tend to, yeah, but and I drummed and played guitar and sang, etc. on them, and it was just, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed doing that, and then it sort of became about a job. It sort of became a job again. Would you like some mystery samples, Andrew Butler? If you're sending mystery samples, I will take mystery samples. I take samples from anybody, as most people will know. It doesn't even have to be whiskey. But 3 guitars. Oh, Christopher, 3 guitars. With the intention of wanting. Yeah, the amount of guitars that have been bought, I would imagine, over the years by people that have sat in the corner, and people have asked me to teach them, and I'll be honest with you, I don't have the patience for it. It's something that I learned at a young age, and I was self-taught, and just, and I still pick up guitars and still mess up. I still write and mess about on the guitar for my own fun. Scotch Down Under's in. G'day, mate. Yet again, mate, you've just come out at the end. I'm just about to wrap this up, but yeah, I still mess about in the guitar, but it's something to do for fun. It's at the minute, but you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. You know what I'm going to do, just to see is off tonight. I'm going to pour the rest of this R18 into my glass. I really did enjoy that one, Lee J. Thank you, my friend. There's a couple of Lee J has introduced me to Now, I appreciate all the samples that come in. Of course I do. But but Lee J has introduced me to a couple that I really, really like, and they went on to my list. They really did. Who are the Kinks? The Kinks. Do like the Who, but don't get me wrong. Of course, I like the Who. They're an incredible band, but just I always had a thing for the Kinks, even whenever everybody. I'm not that old, but back to the point of like whenever it came to, like, say, the Beatles, the Stones, the Kinks, that sort of thing, I was always about the Kinks first, and then I moved on to the Rolling Stones, and then actually somebody introduced me to a lot of the Beatles stuff that because all I knew was the popular singles and all that there, and then I started to listen to the album stuff and realized that yeah, the Beatles knew what they were doing as well. So I know Alan. So here we go for another hour. No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. See, you do right on the Bunny Man. Well, Echo and the Bunny Man. Oh man, you've got me. Echo and the Bunny Man. I don't know enough of Echo and the Bunny. I only know sort of the bigger singles, really. U2, I seen live on the Pop Mart tour. Wasn't a massive fan of U2. As a matter of fact, I was very much was a friend. An old friend of mine was said something about U2 at one point, and it just stuck with me, and it just had me laughing. Even now, when I think about it, he says if U2 were playing in the back garden, he would pull the blinds and phone the police. And this was, I always thought this was a great statement, and I wasn't a massive fan of U2 until Acton Baby came out, and then I changed my whole opinion on them. And to me, I was going to say they did for a while get in the 90s. I thought they were excellent, and then they started to go the other direction again. So I just sort of lost interest there. Waterboys, the Pogues, Waterboys. Is this the way, the way this is going to go forward? I seen another one there too. There was something Zeppelin. David said Zeppelin. Yeah, all day long. Love Led Zeppelin. Uh, I still I can't listen to new music. It just, and even the bands that I liked back in the day, the Iron Maidens and that sort of thing that are still releasing, and it's like, stop, stop. You've had your day. Just stop. Mm. Yeah, right. And like, the thing is, Rand, I know you like your music still. Poison or Westlife. Ben, you know I don't. Everybody knows I don't swear much. Like, fuck off. Mm. Anyway, sorry, I'm literally just scanning down through here. Look, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. That was almost an hour and a half. That's not like me. I do tend to, and that was just me shooting the shit there, which was what I mean. That was my intention this evening, was to shoot some shit, and I could safely say that some shit was shot. Ah. That's quite sad. I mean, sorry, I skipped forward there. It was the Bewitched ones. Yeah, it's all right, Ben. Um, anyway, folks, I had a great time there. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I I say, Andrew, I will thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Thank you for being in, and I will give you a shout, uh, and we'll sort out some samples or whatever. It's your last one, Greg, so I'll give you. There's a good question, actually. Boston. Boston. I would even just base it on More Than a Feeling. Classic song. Just takes me right back to The first bar I used to drink in my local was a bar called the Silver Dollar, class, Silver Dollar in Antrim, and they had an old 7-inch jukebox. It wasn't a 7-inch jukebox; it was 7-inch singles that played in the jukebox, and Boston's More Than a Feeling was one of them, and it was just every time that come on. So look, thank you all for being in. I will not know, Alan. I definitely wouldn't send it down the hatch. Never will. I'll take it with me and go and sit with Mrs. Novice and finish this. Guys, thank you as always. I said it's almost November, so I hope to be back for at least 2. There, I'll make you a promise now. There'll be at least 2 Monday malt samples in November. So get your ears on, because there'll probably be people out here that's been in here the night that I'll be giving a shout to. Listen, thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a ball tonight, really did. It was good crack. Molasses, did we in earlier, Mike? Sorry, if you were, I missed you. I'll see you soon. I will see you in November, and we will do this again. I might have guessed. You know what else I might do, and you can think about this, see what you think. And I was nearly going to do it tonight, but it just throw out the invite into the chat, and you can, if anybody wants to join in, then anybody actually wants to come in and have a chat with me, they can do so. I know there's people who've done it before, and it sometimes it works, sometimes it's a disaster. But you guys can have a think about it, and I'll maybe, if you think it's a good idea, let me know. I maybe just, as I say, throw out the invite to people that can just come in for a chat. We will see going forward. Until then, folks, thank you for joining me. Thank you so much. It's been emotional as always. Cheers. Here's your good health.